We can hear you, Chair.
Oh, Honorable Club, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, my chairperson?
Very well, thank you. My apologies. I'm in the village and I'm trying to connect, and I've just had technology problems. I'm using my phone. My iPad is gone in for repairs. So I sincerely apologize trying to get this cell phone operational. But let me not take any much time that we have lost. Mamuka Gaza, Manyamza, do we have any apologies?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Yes, please proceed.
Yes, we've got apologies from Utatu Kulu, Chair, is attending the local House of Traditional Leaders meeting, and Mamu Priyet's attending party commitments. Tatuma Sipa is running late. Minister and Deputy Minister Dlamini and Deputy Minister Skwacha, they are attending Interministerial Committee on Land Reform, Chair. Thank you. Those are the apologies, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, honorable members. Any other further apologies you may want to raise?
Thank you, Chair. I've got an apology for Uma Mutlape. She is going to be in and out because of the network. She's driving from her residence to the village, so the network might be a challenge, but she is in for now.
Okay. No, thank you. Also, in terms of quorum, we have sufficient members that have joined the meeting.
Yes, Chair.
All right. No, thank you, Bamkakaza, as well as Banyamza, to our secretariat for the apologies. Honorable members, let me welcome you to our meeting, which we will be receiving the department's annual report. And we will then, having dispense of the annual report, we will be able to be afforded time to engage with the presentation in terms of questions of clarity and have a discussion in and around that. So without wasting any further time, let me hand over to the department to present their annual report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, honorable members. Today we will be presenting the annual report of the former Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. With me today are colleagues from the former department in terms of the agriculture component, the forestry component, and also the fisheries component. The presentation that we'll be making here today will be in three parts. The first part would be around the performance, which will be presented by Ndate Kgobokwe. The second part would be the issue around human resource management. And the third part would be around finances. And Ndate Kgobokwe will introduce, the colleagues will be taking us through that. Thank you very much, Chair. With your permission, I would like to hand over to Mr. Kgobokwe for the presentation.
Thank you, Acting DG Ntate Ramasodi. We'll welcome and Ntate Kgobokwe. Please go ahead and present.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair, honorable members of the committee, the Acting Director General, and colleagues. We are presenting the 2019-20 annual report of the former Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. As the Acting DG indicated, We will have 3 of us that will be leading the presentation. I will lead the main presentation, and Ms. Bafedile Bopape will lead the part on the human resources, and Mr. Dunster will lead the part on the financials, on the budget, on behalf of the CFO. Chairperson, that is the presentation outline. We'll focus on those areas. May we go to the next slide, please? Starting with the operational environment, the next slide. That is the usual chairperson, the vision, mission, and the strategic outcomes of the department. The next slide, please. That is the structural arrangement of the former Department of Agriculture. We'll all remember that in terms of structural arrangement, there were 6 programs. The next slide, please. This slide, Honorable Chair, simply depicts the integrated approach as far as our planning is concerned and our base documents which actually inform our plans. The NDP, NGP, the MTSF priorities, and during the previous administration, outcome 4, 7, and 10. May we go to the next slide, please? Now, here we are looking at a trend, performance trend, Honorable Chair and Honorable members, over a 6-year period. And we simply would like to see how the department has been doing over that period of time. That is the graphical presentation since 2014-15 financial year up to 2019-20 financial year, which is the year that we are reviewing today. That is the trend, Honorable Chair. I think it is self-explanatory. May we go to the next slide? This slide, Honorable Chair and members, is a reflection on how we have been performing as a department in terms of audit conclusions. And it is a depiction of a trend since 2012-2013 financial year up to 2019-20 financial year. I think the legend is clear there in terms of what we mean per program, per financial year. As you can see, Chair, I think between 2013 and 2016, in fact, 2017-18, the department was really well placed in terms of our audit conclusions, audit findings. But as you can see, 2019-20, the department is qualified in terms of program 3, and it is also qualified in terms of program 6. That is a summary, Chair, of the audit conclusions over that period of time. May we go to the next slide? Now, from here, Chair, we are focusing on the performance of the department in terms of the targets, which are in the 2019-20 approved annual performance plan. And that is the summary as reflected on the table. The ODG, 50%, corporate services, 40%, the Chief Financial Office, 50%, policy planning, monitoring and evaluation, 71, agricultural production program 2, 63, food security and agrarian reform, 88%, trade, economic development, trade and marketing, 93%, forestry and natural resource management, 50%, and fisheries management, 64%. And this translated, Chair, into an overall performance percentage of 69% for the year under review. May we go, please? That is just a graphical representation of the previous slide, honorable members. This part is the most important part, where we actually reflect on the targets achieved and the targets not achieved. But for the purpose of this presentation, Honorable Chair, I will only focus on targets that were not achieved. I will not spend time to talk to targets that have been achieved. Now, in terms of Program 1, Honorable Chair, we have that target on the risk management strategy. The target was that there should be full implementation of this strategy, but this target was not achieved. I think the reason that is given there, Chair, is that that's the time when we're preparing for a new merger, DAFF and Dr. DLR, and there was that recommendation that rather let the process start where we will have an integrated risk strategy, which actually talks to the two departments. May we go to the next slide, please? Then the next target, Chair, which was not achieved, is on the business continuity plans. The testing of the DAFF's core directorate's business continuity plans was a target which was to be achieved, and this was not achieved. The reason for that, it was again agreed that let this business continuity plan incorporate former Dr. DLR, so that we have only one plan for the mesh department. May we go to the next slide, please? The next slide focuses on ICT plan, which was involving invoice tracking system. There was to be this new system introduced. This was not implemented, Chair, because at that time, that's when the process of merging the two departments had started, and the leadership then agreed that, okay, let us hold this process so that that incorporates the plans of the two departments. Then we have got the target on the marketing of agricultural products amendment bill, the preservation, development and agricultural land bill. Those two bills had been prioritized for the financial year, but they were not developed, Honorable Chair, and they were reprioritized for 2020-2021 financial year. The preservation and development of agricultural land bill took time in terms of consultation, particularly at NETLEC, there were delays there because consultation at that level were protracted. But it must also be noted, Chair, that the Marketing of Agricultural Products Bill, Amendment Bill, is part of the 2020-21 APP, and focus will be on it during this financial year. May we go to the next slide? The other target in terms of Program 1, which was not achieved, Honorable Chair, focuses on unqualified audit reports on 2018-2019 financial statements. But we know that this target was not achieved because there was a qualification in terms of our financial statements, and the main source of that being branch Forestry, where there were material misstatements noted by the Auditor General relating to biological assets under the Forestry and Natural Resource Management function. The next slide, please. Media plans were also targeted to be implemented, and these were not fully implemented. There was this program which is called Back to School program, which had to incorporate media campaigns, but this was not achieved, Chair, Honorable Chair. The reason for that being that there were now preparations to incorporate the priorities of the two departments as the two departments were preparing to merge. May we go to the next slide, please? Next slide. The next slide. The other target, Chair, is the report on sector economic and statistical information outlook. There were supposed to be 4 quarterly reports approved for the financial year, but only 2 were approved for the financial year. This type of approval involved the sitting of the executive management of the department, and only 2 of those reports were considered, were discussed, and were approved. Can we go to the next slide, please? Again, Honorable Chair, there were 4 project verification reports which were supposed to be submitted to DEXCO, be considered, be discussed, and be approved. But not all reports were approved. The reason being that not all reports were discussed, considered by this approval structure. But it must be noted, Chair, that the other 2 reports which were not considered by DEXCO, they were discussed with the accounting officer who ultimately approved them. But we have to reflect it as such, because in terms of the phrasing of the target in the APP, they were supposed to be discussed and considered by DEXCO. Can we go to the next slide? The next slide, please. We are now under Program 2, Honorable Chair. May we go to the next slide? In terms of the target which was not achieved by this program, Chair, it was 2 animal disease risks surveillances which were supposed to be conducted, but unfortunately they were not conducted. The reason for that, honorable members, revolves around the delays in collecting and sending samples to the laboratory. I think there were delays in terms of that, and as a result, by the end of the period under review, they had not yet been conducted. May we go to the next slide?
If I may make a request,
Yes, Chair.
to be sensitive to time, and
Okay.
therefore I would like us to focus on the performance and expenditure information for 2019 and 2020, and how you are addressing the audit outcomes. Perhaps also if we can just zoom into focusing on the program 1 to program 5, that will assist the committee.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm saying this because we have 20 minutes remaining on the presentation, so just be mindful of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I will do my best to be fast. Program 2, Chair, there were also 27 export protocols for phytosanitary requirements, which were supposed to be achieved, but they were not achieved simply because these are based on demand, and there was no demand for them, and therefore they were not achieved. Can we go to the next slide? And may we be fast, Ralph? There were also supposed to be 189 veterinarians deployed, but only 168 were deployed. 21 were not deployed simply because of financial constraints. The next slide, please. Program 3, Food Security and Agrarian Reform. They were supposed to conduct a national survey on food and nutrition security. They were not able to do this, honorable members, simply because of procurement-related challenges. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Program 4. We are now on program 4, honorable members. Next slide. In terms of program 4, there was supposed to be a report on the implementation of Agri-BEE enforcement guidelines. This was not achieved, Honorable Chair, because a number of regulators in the sector were supposed to be consulted, and they were supposed to feed into the report, and that exercise had not been completed by the end of the period that is under review, and therefore this was not achieved. The next slide, please. Next slide. The next slide. In terms of program 5, which is Forestry and Natural Resource Management, 945 hectares were supposed to be planted in temporary unplanted area. Only 551.53 were achieved. And the reason that they are giving, Honorable Chair, is that that area was affected by drought, and therefore it would not be possible for planting to happen there. The next slide. The next target relates to recommissioning business model developed. This was not achieved because of procurement related challenges, Chairperson. The next slide, please. There was also a target focusing on 300 hectares of state indigenous forest to be rehabilitated. In fact, this target was overachieved, and the overachievement was because of those targets that were rolled over into the new quarter and the new financial year. The next slide, please. The next slide. Honorable Chair, that concludes the part in terms of the targets that were not achieved, in line with 5 programs that Honorable Chair recommended we must focus on. Can we move now to, we may skip program 6, please. Now, this section, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, focuses on transversal indicators. Transversal indicators are those that are dealt with by provincial departments of agriculture. The first one focuses on 86,256 households which were supported, which were supposed to be supported, but only 44,849 households were supported, and you have the breakdown in terms of provinces there. That figure is the one that was not achieved. And what provinces have cited, honorable members, relate to the COVID-19 restrictions which impeded physical movement where these projects could not be verified. The next slide. The next slide focuses on 109,534 hectares planted for food security. Those hectares were supposed to be planted. Only 17,908.94 hectares were planted. Again, the reason why the rest were not achieved, it was because of limitations when it comes to physical movement. And those other projects could not be visited to be validated. The next slide. 26,200 smallholder producers were supposed to be supported. Only 1,567 were supported. Again, Honorable Chair and members, it was owed to limited physical movement during the COVID period, and those projects could not be visited and could not be verified. The next slide. There were supposed to be 27,957 hectares of agricultural land rehabilitated, but what was achieved is a way more than the target, which is 35.183. And the reason for this overachievement is because some other work was rolled over into this period, Honorable Chair. Next slide, please. These are other key achievements recorded during 2019-20. Honorable members, the census on commercial agriculture, a project which was led by Statistics South Africa, but led jointly with the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. The report was launched, the final report was launched. The Producer Farmer Register, which members know about, which is at the final stages as we speak, and the final report is due to be launched still during this financial year. The process of reviewing provincial departments of agriculture budget structure and transversal indicators for the current MTSF period started in March. We also have State South Africa reflects on the Q1 employment in the sector which indicates that our numbers stand at 865,000 as we speak. The department hosted a successful World Food Day on the 16th October 2019 at Lusikisiki. Risk Management Committee held quarterly meetings as per the approved Risk Management Committee Charter. Audit Committee was functional and played a key advisory role to assist the department to meaningfully discharge its responsibilities. The next slide. These very, very quickly, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, these are the challenges that have been identified which impeded achievement of targets. Management and control of conditional grants implementation. We noted that at provincial level, The control systems are not that firm in this particular area. The second challenge relates to insufficient funding in critical areas. This is owed to lack of enough funds, enough budget, insufficient capacity in some functional units, owing to posts that had been abolished and some which remained unfilled. And we realized that to address this thing, we have to improve as far as turnaround time for filling posts is concerned. We also experienced some disaster challenges during the year in question. And we are saying, as we move forward, we must plan ahead and make sure that we'll always have post-disaster support funds. We also experienced some disease outbreaks, and this has remained a challenge. And we are saying, to circumvent this thing, we've got to ensure that we've got sufficient capacity and budget. Chair, at this stage, I will ask the acting DDG, Corporate Services, Mebu Pape, to lead us in terms of the human resources section. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members, Acting DG, colleagues. I'm going to present the human resource issues, and I will not take time. I just want to start with the issues of the post-establishment and vacancy rate and staff turnover between, for that current year. You'll notice that the post-establishment decreased from 6,120 to 5,235. This was due to the abolishment of unfunded vacant posts, and the vacancy rate also decreased, obviously, from 19.5% to 11.2% due to the above matter. The staff turnover rate decreased from 5.8 to 5.2. The next, the whole sentence that's there, I'm just going to summarize to say that what it means is that the MTF human resource plan, which was developed, it included the following priority areas, which is those that are listed there: development of talent management, the workplace skills plan, improvement of access to employee health and wellness programs, and strengthening transformation capacity and implementation of diversity management. Next slide, please. And this is the HR dashboard. I'll also not go through each. However, it talks to the post approved, that were approved at that time. I've already talked to that in the previous slide, and the post filled and the vacant post and the vacancy rate, the turnover rate, and the jobs evaluated. And also there is an indication of why the reason for people leaving the service, it was mainly because of retirement. And then it also shows that the disability in terms of us, how are we doing in terms of employing the people with disability. Yes, we haven't reached the required, target. And there, the female and the males SMS members, it shows that we are at 46% and 54% males. Also, we know that we are required to be 50-50. And then there's the total cost of performance rewards, and the total who received performance rewards is that. And I'm rushing, Honorable Chair, because I realize we don't have enough time. And the cost of leave taken, and the leave payout, grievances lodged, and grievances resolved. Those are the numbers, and disciplinary cases that were finalized, and the highest number of sanctions, and the highest types of misconduct. And if you see the highest types of misconduct is absent of employees without authorization and abscondment. Next slide, please. And then there, I've already talked to the vacancy rate in the first slide. So this is month to month, the vacancies as it happened all throughout the financial year. And if you look at the drop at the end of the financial year, and I've indicated that it was due to those abolishment of posts. Next slide, please. And also this one is the staff age profiles. I'm also not going to spend a lot of time there. So, but just to indicate that at the top there is no title under 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. These are the levels, the salary levels, salary level 1 to 16, and it shows, you know, then the ages and the number of people in each age category. How many do we have? Thank you. We may go to the next slide, and then this one is the employment equity profile. The legends there shows that there is 39% of African males, and I've also talked to that in terms of the equity in the previous slide. Next slide, please. This is just the summary of what I've reported, and maybe the issues to give reasons to why certain things happened. So the filling of vacant posts, they continue to be suspended due to inadequate budget for compensation of employees, resulting in an increase in vacancy rate throughout the financial year. And also that reason I indicated due to abolishment of posts. And the NMOC project required the abolishment of those vacant unfunded positions. I've said that already. And then due to the budget cuts as well, which were introduced by National Treasury, the post establishment was greatly reduced. So as I've indicated, I don't want to waste time. These are the things that I've said already in the previous slides. Is just giving context to what I've talked to earlier on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We will now request Justice to lead in terms of the financial part of the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
I hope this is the last presentation, right?
That is the last one, Chair.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and colleagues. I'm going to present on the financials for the former Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. The first slide will be on the expenditure per program as at 31 March 2020. And the actual expenditure, it's 7,460,000,000 against a budget of 7,612,000,000 with a variance of 152.089 million. And then in terms of percent spent, the percent spent is 98%. Next slide, please. The next slide is on economic classification in terms of compensation of employees with expenditure of 2.2 against the budget of 2.3%. Spent is 96 and the variance is 94 million. And goods and services, the budget was 867 million, spent 824, percent 95, and the variance is 43 million. And interest, it's 100% spent, and payment for financial assets is 99.6 with a variance of 11,000. And then transfers, which was the biggest budget amount in our department's budget. The expenditure is 4.185 against a budget of 4.197 billion, and percent spent is 99.7 with a variance of 12.3 million. And then I'll go through the reasons for those variances. And then the payment for capital assets, the expenditure is 202 million against a budget of 204 with a saving or a variance of 2.1 million. And then it tallies with what happens there at the programs, having the percent spent of 98% and the variance of 152.089. Next slide, please. In terms of the targets, for Q4, the targets percent achieved is 15%. However, for the total for the year, it will result in 10%. Can we go to the next slide? That was for administration. I'm sorry not to mention. For program 2, the target achieved for Q4 is 54%. That is for program 2 called Agriculture Production, Health and Food Safety. So the percent achieved for Q4 is 54%, but the actual for the year is 33%. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Program 3. No, let's go to program 3. Program 3, it was called Food Security and Agrarian Reform. Actual percent achieved for Q4, 11%, with the total for the year of 19%. Thank you. Next slide. Program 4 used to be called Trade Promotion and Market Access. Actual achieved for Q4, 76%, and then for the whole year is 68%. Next slide, please. And then program 5, actual achieved was 14% for Q4, and for the whole year, 13%. Next slide, please. Fisheries, program 6, it overachieved with over 100%, which is 219%, and the total for the year, 109%. Here it's a summary. In terms of the summary of the whole department, not looking at the programs, the actual achieved for Q4 is 29%, and for the year is 28%. Next slide, please. I'll not go to this slide because it's the same as the first slide. Just go over to the next slide, please. And then to the next slide, please. I just want to go to the reasons. The reasons for the variances for program 1, it was the underspending was on the producer farmer register with 14.4 million not spent. It did not realize as expected. And then the other underspending was due to vacancies not filled due to a moratorium when the departments, the two departments of agriculture and rural development merged, and then following the NMOC process. And then for program 2, the under expenditure there was realized because we could not spend on the earmarked allocation for strengthening inspection services at ports of entry for the amount of 3.3 million, and also for 555,000 with respect to food safety and quality assurance, where we're supposed to upgrade laboratories and equipment. And then the bigger amount being 23.7 million not spent on the import-export system because of the technicalities. And then there were other underspending on the program, which we call compulsory community service of the primary animal health care program, where the COE of 5.05 million was not spent. Next slide, please. And then for program 3, there was an under expenditure which occurred because of the amount of 3.7 million which was not paid to Land Bank for the blended finance program. There were issues with Land Bank in terms of having not used the funds of the department for the right purpose, and then we decided not to pay until they fixed the problem. And then there was further underspending with respect to vacancies due to a moratorium, as I mentioned in the other programs. There were the moratorium, so as to finalize the merger of the two departments, was implemented. So it affected the spending on compensation of employees and filling of vacancies. And then on program 4, there was an under expenditure of 9.5 million. We can say it's an under expenditure, but I will call it a saving because of the strengthening of our currency against major foreign exchange rate fluctuations when we're paying for membership fees. So we realized a saving of 9.5 million. And then the same story with respect to Land Bank, where we could not pay the admin fee for the program, Agri-BE program, because Land Bank were not happy with the management of the finances that were transferred to them. And then further underspending with respect to vacancies is the same story due to the moratorium, due to the finalization of the merger following the NMOC process. Next slide, please. And then program 5, there was an under expenditure where we did not transfer the amount of 400,000 to the Food and Trees for Africa, owing to the MOU having not been finalized. And then there was an amount of 1.135 million with respect to the Land Care Program grant meant for Gauteng Province, which was withheld because they didn't comply. The further underspending was due to vacancies on the merger following the moratorium on the filling of posts. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is a summary of the quarters, how they performed: quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. And then quarter 4, the percent was 22.2 against the target of 25. However, for a year, as I mentioned when I was doing the programs, for a year, the percent spent is 98%. Next slide. Yeah, this is in terms of economic classifications. It will tally with the programs. It will be the percent spent for all the economic classification for quarter 4 being 22.2 against a target, linear target of 25. And however, for the year is 25, it's 98. Thank you. Thank you.
Chairperson, we submit.
Thank you, Dr. Ramasodi and the officials of the department for the presentation on the annual report of the former Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. Honorable members, we will now engage with the presentation that has been put before us. I will request that those that are able, please raise your hands so I can be able to recognize you, and we may then be able to engage with this presentation. Honorable Kape. Honorable Kape. Honorable Kape was driving and she said she will be in and out of the meeting due to network challenges. Honorable Kape. We'll move on to Honorable Kapa.
Thank you, Chair. Let me welcome the report from the department, the information from the previous department. I don't have much questions on this because if you remember, the information is the one which we have been getting on quarterly basis throughout. But it's only that, and another thing is that to me is mostly issues that by now I don't think there is a way of changing them because it is a statement of the facts. But I appreciate that the department has been able to put this elaborate report and also giving reasons for whatever poor performance that was not there, which also indicates to me that then if they have reasons, it tells me that then there's a possibility of correcting all the shortcomings. But my main worry, which was a tiny one for that matter, is that percentage of 69% achievement. To me, it worries me because that's a lot when given the time and resources that have been there. If at the end of the day, the percentage, the expenditure becomes 69%, but still maybe there may be a satisfactory explanation that may be the cause of that. It can be remain at that level, but otherwise, I welcome the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kapa. Mama Stay, Honorable Stay.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, my first question to the department would be, as far as I understand this, this is a report that ends at March 2020. And we started with COVID in March 2020, as far as I can remember. So why do we give reasons for not achieving targets to COVID? Chair, I don't understand this at all. You cannot say that we did not verify the households because of COVID. What were the department then doing for the whole year, April 2019 to March 2020? Chairperson, it's unacceptable. Unacceptable. I am not impressed. I said last week when we met with the previous Department of Rural Development and Land Reform that I knew we're going to hear all about COVID. We're not discussing the COVID year. We're discussing the previous year. I want to firstly find out from the department, why are we even mentioning COVID in the previous year's report? Chairperson, I would like a proper explanation.
Honorable Steyn, are you still there? Honorable Steyn? Seems we might have lost her. We indeed share the same sentiments and do hope that we'll gain clarity on the actual fiscal we're speaking of 2019 and 2020. Honorable Matthias, Ntate Matthias, I don't see him on the platform. I will move on. Honorable Chwete.
Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, I'm really concerned. Oh, let me greet my fellow colleagues and the leadership of the department. Chair, I'm concerned, Chair, because in this report, this annual report that we're given by the department, that is tabled to us, in front of us by the department, it says minimal about 2019 and 2020. And Chair, I have a serious concern. I hope the department would clarify me and put me at ease. In one of their targets, Chair, it reflects that in their targets, it reflects that they could not achieve because the lockdown. They could not achieve some of their targets because they failed to seed. They could not seed because of the lockdown. I don't understand. I fail to understand EXCO members who cannot sit due to lockdown. A lockdown that took almost the whole year. Can the department clarify to us the reasons of them not sitting? If Parliament could sit during lockdown and any other departments can sit during lockdown, what is this one was doing? Can they clarify us on that, Chair? Either than that, I do have other questions, but I just need clarity on that one, Chair, first. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chwete. Honorable Mamumba Bama. Kangeba.
Thank you, Chair. I have no questions at this point.
Thank you, Bondom, sir. The Honorable Briet, she had also indicated she is attending to other matters. If she hasn't been able to join, let us move on, honorable members. Honorable Mahlo. Tobela Memahlo. Honorable Ntate Masipa. Ntate Masipa.
Sorry, Chairperson. Honorable Masipa just informed me that he's got something that came up urgently. I'm back. Sorry, I lost you there.
Okay. Were you done since you're on the platform, Honorable State?
No, Chair. I will leave my video off. I think it will be better. Chairperson, so I think all the questions that I asked regarding the food security programs, that was not one of them met, and all of them has got reasons for COVID that I don't believe, because it wasn't COVID time. And in any case, even if it was during a month or two of COVID, agriculture was supposed to be going on as normal. And I did say that we found in the beginning of the period of COVID that we could not get hold of officials because all of them, no one was at the offices, and I was informed that people were at the offices. So, Chairperson, I'm going to insist that we get a list. I don't care how long the list is and how many pages it will take up, but I want to see which officials worked during COVID period. Agriculture was supposed to be functioning and working, and now we see from the department itself that they could not do work because they were under COVID regulations and couldn't move. The rest of the farmers moved around. We produced food in this country under very difficult conditions, but our department that was supposed to support us was apparently nowhere to be found. Chair, then I want to find out, I have sent the answer to our colleagues. I received an answer from the Minister on the suspension of the Chief Surveyor General as well as the Chief Director Cadastral Spatial Information. They were suspended in May 2017. I want to find out if they are still suspended, why no investigation has been done, or what is going on there. How can people be suspended for 3 years on full salary, Chair? So can we get a full report on that? And the reasons why disciplinary hearings was not held during 3 years. Then, Chairperson, I want to have clarity on the 25 export protocols, where 2 was said people did not bring any for examinations. I want to understand the export protocols. Is that just to check if people comply, or is that export protocols that must be written so that we can export to new countries? I'm not sure I understand that target 100%. Yes, and I think I missed maybe, Chair, the investigations into forestry and fisheries, whether any investigations was done by the department, disciplinary hearings, or whether any people were charged for findings that was in court, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Steyn. Mahlati, Honorable Mahlati.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good afternoon, colleagues, and good afternoon to the leadership of the department. Chairperson, I share sentiments with previous speakers, especially on the disappointment that we are enjoying as a portfolio committee from this particular department. This annual report is no different from the one that we received for 2018-2019. This annual report does not give any confidence to South Africans in as far as the department's goals towards achieving them. This annual report gives us no clarity in terms of the impact that agriculture is doing in as far as changing the lives of ordinary South Africans. I must indicate, Chair, most of the time I rise on these issues of internal audit and risk management when it comes to the department. But let me speak on issues of finances versus performance versus impact. When you look at the departmental budget, it moves at 98%. But when you look at targets achieved, it speaks something else. So there is no correlation between the targets as well as the budget. And in the previous quarterly report and the annual report, we were given some response in relation to this, but I'm still not convinced that people in the department can spend almost 100% of their budget, but still cannot achieve their goals. That means there's something wrong in the planning program, in the planning process of the department. Therefore, I think at some point, we need to be taken through in terms of how the department plans its own processes, not necessarily that we want to get involved in the operations of the department, but it could be that a challenge is seated there, because it will also speak to the capacity of the department. Does the capacity has the right people doing the work? Because you can have qualified individuals, but who are unable to deliver on what the department seeks to achieve. Chairperson, I must also speak to issues of the structure that has been presented in this meeting. To say, why does the department have in their own, I'm not sure, actually we must also bring Treasury on board on this issue, because we must not take it for granted that some of us have not been in the administration of government before. Why would the department have, for a full year, unfunded vacant posts? Under normal circumstances, a unfunded post cannot sit on the structure for more than a year. Treasury would normally remove it if it's unfunded. Why is it still on PESAL? Secondly, Chair, maybe we must get an indication from the department, because even previously we've been having this reports to say we'll recover in the next quarter, we'll recover in the next quarter. The annual report present to us that they were unable to recover in the following quarters. That's why we are finding an annual report that does not respond to issues of South Africans in as far as the mandate of the department. How does this department intend to improve its business? That's my only question. How do they intend to improve the business of the day to ensure there's correlation between budget and achieved goals? How does the department intend to move this department from what we are seeing in this annual report? I'm actually wondering what's going to be the audit outcome of this financial year, because this is going to look like exactly, this what we are having now is just a reflection of what we are going to have at the end of this financial year. And Chair, lastly, we must not be taken for granted, with all due respect, as a portfolio committee that is toothless, that is going to make noise and not being able to make any impact in making sure that we do proper oversight on the department. We must make it clear that we are not happy as a portfolio committee. We expect results, nothing else but results. And this thing of COVID-10 is actually an embarrassment to this meeting, that we are going to be told about COVID on an annual report of 2019-2020. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mema Hlatsi. Honorable Montweg.
Say Brackenfeld, Chair.
Oh, okay. we will.
Maybe we won't see him again.
No, honorable members. Let's be fair to our colleague. Maybe, like many of us, are having technical challenges. And, Zoom is not friendly to us. So let us move on if he's not there. Honorable members, is there any other honorable member who may have wished to pose a question that I've not been able to recognize? Thank you, honorable members. Ntate Ramasoti, the acting DG, officials of the department that have presented before the committee today. Let me also share the same sentiments as that of my colleagues in the committee. It is totally unacceptable to present before this Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development an annual report of the former Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, and speak about lockdown regulation and the challenges that we've had of lockdown. I must outline before you, Dr. Ramasodi, that this is a report of 2019, April 2019 to March 2020. And if my memory serves me well, COVID and level 5 was announced on the 23rd of March, and we began on the 26th of March, which was a Thursday, to have lockdown level 5 instituted. And 4 days later, on the 30th of March, this annual report came to an end. So it is totally impossible that COVID regulations and lockdown had a negative impact on the implementation of fiscal by the department. We would like a response in that regard, so that we are clear and certain what we are speaking about. It cannot be accepted that COVID today is made an excuse of a fiscal that ended when COVID emerged. Nonetheless, honorable members, I would like to go into questions that I would want to raise on this 2019-2020 annual report of the former Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries in regards to access to veterinary services, which remain central to the successful of livestock farmers, particularly subsistence and smallholder livestock farmers, especially in the wake of animal disease outbreaks, such as FMD, African swine fever, and most recently, brucellosis. Therefore, it is very worrisome that the department has failed to deploy about 189 veterinarians for the compulsory community service program when there were enough veterinary graduates that needed to be deployed, which used to be the reason for not meeting the targets in previous years. The 168 vets deployed in the 2019-2020 are even far less than the 189 vets that were deployed in the previous years. In this regard, honorable members, the department should indicate where did it get the budget to exceed the target for the deployment of CCS vets from the planned 150 to 181 in 2018-2019, while for 2019-2020, it reports that it could not deploy 189 vets due to budgetary constraints. In addition, honorable members, the department should indicate what happened to the 21 vets that could not be deployed in 2019-2020 and how it is addressing the mentioned budgetary constraint to ensure that all vets that qualify for deployment are placed in the work field. Also linked to this, honorable members, is access to veterinary services. The list that was last sent to the Portfolio Committee of Agricultural Land Reform and Rural Development by the department showed that in 2020, most vets, 34 in actual fact, were deployed in Gauteng province, which is an urban province with far less livestock than most rural provinces, while Free State, which has more livestock, at least at the commercial scale, according to the latest agricultural census, employed 12 vets. And the Northern Cape, where most of our sheep are located, employed only 6 vets. The department, honorable members, has indicated that provinces make requests for the deployment of CCS vets, and the number of placements depends on the availability of resources in a province, or rather its state of readiness to accommodate additional vets. This creates an anomaly between the number of vets that are placed in a province against the actual need for veterinary services, where rural provinces generally have more livestock and have the greatest need, but do not have enough resources to accommodate more vets. Therefore, honorable members, how is the department, through the implementation of its veterinary strategy, addressing these anomalies and assisting provinces that are in great need and have shortages of vets to improve access to veterinary services? Thirdly, honorable members, can the department report, has reported that the national policy on the comprehensive producer development support was tabled at Cabinet in March. Has the policy been approved by Cabinet? What is its current status as we speak or meet today? As the policy was developed before the merger of the two departments, will there be a need to review it so that it is applicable and relevant to the mandate of the new department? Honorable members, on Program 4, NAMAC, which is mandated to be more of an advisory body to the Minister on agricultural marketing policies and their application, market access and marketing of agricultural products, does research and also implements projects on behalf of the department and conducts farmer training for market access. The department, honorable members, should therefore explain the linkage between its activities on SA GAP and training on market access and work that is done by NAMAC on these activities. Can the department also, honorable members, report on its supported 144 co-ops with training and trained 60 agro-processing entrepreneurs on norms and standards? The department should also, honorable members, indicate the criteria that is used to select co-ops or entrepreneurs for training. The department should also indicate how it assesses the impact of the training activities, whether conducted by the department or its entities. For example, honorable members, how does it ensure that after such training, the beneficiaries are able to use it to their benefit? For example, where they couldn't access market access before, they are able to gain that access. NEMEC, honorable members, has reported to us that as part of its M&E of industry transformation support, it visits commodity-based smallholder projects in different provinces and writes assessment reports that it submits to the department. How is the department addressing the farmers' challenges that are raised by NAMEC on these projects, which include, amongst others, land, infrastructure, and access to market? One of the department's standing targets, honorable members, is that it has been achieving, including in the year under review, is the compilation of a status report on compliance to AU and SADC obligations. The department must therefore, honorable members, provide us with details on the AU and SADC obligations that it specifically compiled to during the 2019 and 2020 financial year. With that said, honorable members, maybe I can speak also to some of the other program in terms of program 1 on administration. Workplace skills plan was not achieved, and this is concerning to us, honorable members, given the fact that competency gaps were seen as some of the root causes contributing to the department's failure to meet some of its performance targets. How will the department, honorable members, ensure that there is an increased capacity within the department in order to ensure that the department is able to respond positively in meeting its targets as per the annual performance plan? 2, the reliability of reported performance information in the APP remains a concern. Therefore, can the department indicate that in light of the reliability of reported performance information concerns raised by the Auditor General of South Africa, how will the department deal with these concerns in order to protect the credibility of the department's financial performance plan? Underfunding of the department's programs has always been a concern to this portfolio committee on agricultural land reform and rural development. Can we therefore, honorable members, be updated by challenges faced by the department with respect to funding of its planned programs of 2019-2020, and how have these impacted the achievement of the planned targets? And in view of the department, how will these funding gaps be met? Lastly, is a huge concern on the issue of land bank and its failure to ensure support is given financially to small scale farmers and small scale farm holders. And I would like to understand in this regard, with the monies that were afforded to the land bank, have we been able to fully ensure those monies were utilized? And further, that is land bank the right financial institution, particularly for small scale farm holders, or should we be looking at other financial institutions? There was talk and focus on Mafisa, and it seems also to have just disappeared. Can we get a full update on Mafisa? Thank you, honorable members. I thought we need to do justice to this presentation and ensure that we engage in detail with this presentation that has been put before us. And Tate Ramasodi, the acting DG, and the officials of the department, let us hand over to yourselves for your responses on the questions that have been sent through by the honorable members. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and honorable members. Let me thank you for the incisive questions relating to the presentation that is being made in front of you. I would like to respond to two issues before I give over to the colleagues, and then I'll wrap up in terms of the issues that the colleagues might have not covered in terms of the questions that came from the honorable members. I think the first one is the issue around COVID-19, and this issue has been raised by honorable members. I think sufficiently, even last week it was raised in terms of the issues. And I would fully agree with honorable members around the angle that is being taken around how COVID-19 is used. However, I would like to indicate to honorable members that at lockdown level 5 that started at midnight on the 26th of March 2020, there was a provision that was made, and I think it covers the issue that the Honorable Stein was asking, and I think Honorable Mahlatsi to a greater extent, that agriculture was an essential service. An essential service in terms of producing the goods. Not every angle in terms of agriculture was working that time, because there was an expectation that we should identify, even within agriculture, those activities that would be regarded as essential in terms of the production of food. And in this case, the issues that are being raised by the colleagues are not around implementation. They are around the issue around verifying whether what was said has been done. And that verification in terms of monitoring and evaluation was not part of the essential services as determined by the DGs at that stage. What were the essential services during that time? Were your veterinary services, your plant health services, your issues that have got to deal with the issuance of services to your farmers, extension at that stage, and you would also have all the certification aspects of the department all working. And you also had part of the department that was also doing work in terms of the NAMEC, who were doing the economic assessment and other issues. So it is not every employee of the department who was working during that time. And I think that that would also be reflected in the report that we'll be sharing with Parliament as requested by the Honorable House. The second issue that I would like to raise, I think that is important. was an issue around how the department shows up when we discuss issues with the portfolio committee. I would like to indicate that the department takes the portfolio committee very seriously. We take the work of the portfolio committee very seriously, and whatever that the portfolio committee advances is made a responsibility of the department to ensure that it does not reflect as if the department is not responsive. And if at some stage, honorable members, there's a reflection that the department is not responsive, I would like to indicate here now that my apologies, but I would not want to be part and parcel of a department that does not respond to the portfolio committee, and my colleagues neither. And we will strive, honorable members, to ensure that what is being advanced here as an oversight body would be
Chairperson,
done.
I'm very sorry. Chairperson, it's Honorable Stein.
Honorable Stein, is that a point of order?
Yes, Chairperson, I'm really very sorry to do this to Mr. Ramasodi. Chairperson, I want to ask Mr. Ramasodi to please tell this portfolio committee if he tells us that for a full year, no monitoring and evaluation of projects happened, and that the fact that the office is closed at the end of March, they could tell us that the monitoring and evaluation couldn't happen on all those points that I asked, because that is what I understand that he said. Now, I'm sorry to do this, Chair, but I really think we need to clarify this as a matter of urgency.
Okay, honorable members, let me appeal to all of you that you afford the department an opportunity to give their responses to the questions we have posed. We have sufficient time on our side to have follow-up questions and to continue engaging and probing on these issues. Should we need to request for more time from Parliament to have this session continuing, we will do so. But let us afford the department an opportunity. We have raised questions. Let them give responses to the questions we have raised. And we will afford you an opportunity to have follow-up questions on their responses. Thank you. You may proceed, Ntate Ramasodi.
Apologies, Chairperson, and Ms. Stein. The issues around the verification would be captured under each and every program that will follow. Just out of interest, when food security indicates and they come in, Chairperson, they will reflect that there was verification that was done for certain of the quotas that were there, except for quarter 4, which is the real quota that then reflects on the whole year. But I will await until the colleagues take that matter and respond accordingly, because those questions were asked. I was just covering up the issue at the strategic level, and if there is any indication from honorable members that the question was not answered, it will be answered. All the DDGs who are on the platform will be taking a piece in terms of what the honorable members had asked. I was concluding on the issue, Chairperson, that this department is tied to the decisions that are taken by the PC and will never at any stage be seen to be intransigent to the guidance that is being given at PC level. I would then request the colleagues starting from program 1, dealing with the issues around administration, and then I'll go to program 3, dealing with food security, go to economic development, dealing with issues of program 4, and I will then take fisheries issues that were raised in terms of program 6. In that order, and then I'll conclude, Chair. Colleagues, may I just request that you are short, and then we allow members to also ask additional questions, if any. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair. It's Ms. Bupapi, And I'm responding to the question from the Honorable Chairperson about the workplace skills that Honorable Chair indicated that it wasn't approved and implemented. Actually, on the slide that I presented, it's one of the issues that were clearly indicated that this was approved and implemented. Also, once it has been approved, we are required to report to PCETA on a quarterly basis on how we are implementing and I mean, we have to indicate how, firstly, how we're going to implement this, and quarterly basis, then we give them the reports of how we have implemented. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chair and honorable members and Acting DG, the question asked by the Honorable Chair on reliability of reported performance information, I think it reinforces what the Acting DG said in his response to the question on COVID-19. Indeed, Q4 is a very critical quarter for the financial year because that's when programs that are being implemented, the projects which are being implemented are wrapped up. And that's when we are supposed to get a full picture in terms of what has been going on in the financial year. But just to reinforce what Dadara Masodi said, once the quarter comes to an end, like Q4, which ends end of March, there has to be very important work undertaken in terms of what has been reported. There has to be physical visit to the projects. For example, some of the projects we mentioned relate to supporting households, some relate to supporting smallholder farmers. These are projects on the ground which, when we receive reports from provinces to say so many households have been supported, teams must be dispatched to go to those projects to verify. Otherwise, without verification, the Auditor General will not accept that those have been achieved. Even if they have been achieved, they must be supported by evidence. So I just wanted to add to what Dadara Masodi said. But I must also indicate, relating to this area of reliability of information, I think the Chair is spot on to ask such a question, because for every target that we say has been achieved, there must be evidence accompanying that. And to make sure that our information is reliable, reported performance information is reliable, we've got to strengthen our monitoring, where officials actually go out to verify projects, and where officials actually check and validate the evidence which has been provided for reported information. So that is the reason why, Chair, just to conclude, in the middle of last year, 2019-20, we recruited additional staff to strengthen monitoring and evaluation on a 12-month contract. And that was an attempt to make sure that our performance information is reliable it is supported by evidence. And I think going forward, Chair, without belaboring the point, there is a need that we must keep strengthening our monitoring and evaluation to ensure that the reported progress on projects on the ground are visited and are validated. Thank you very much, Chair.
Program 3.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramasodi. Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon to all the honorable members. Indeed, it has been indicated that the physical driving, which usually happens for these officials that are at the national level, that must go down to the areas that support has been provided to, could not take place. And we would also remember, honorable members, that during this time, there was challenges even in terms of accommodation, because these officials, when they go down, they also need to reside there for some time and sleep over and do the work until the work is done. Now you will find that that also became a challenge without laboring the point in terms of these figures that the honorable members are concerned about, and rightfully so. The figures that have been reported are indeed what was factually verified. Hence, we could not report everything that we had gotten with us. We because of this lack of proof of evidence on this, and we would correctly so have received more figures, but in terms of containing proof of those, we could not put them in our report, because indeed, as Mr. Hoboko was saying, the AG would want proof, which it's hard copy usually. And I must also be quick to mention that we, as the new now merged department, we are looking at options of putting or lessening the hard paper and starting to engage producers that are smallholder and subsistence online, so that we already capture almost everything, and it could be quicker to verify. The figures that we are seeing here were verified even in quarter 2 and quarter 3. And as said, the quarter 4 figures are the biggest, and that's where we get the most numbers in terms of performance. Through you, Honorable Chair, if I can also just talk to the aspects of the national policy on comprehensive project development support that you raised a question on, is that yes, indeed, it was tabled in cabinet during March, and the status thereof is that cabinet had a lot of concerns, and it was referred back, and it had to undergo further consultation, and it has now been consulted and agreed upon at NEDLEC, and there are now processes that have been put in place, so that business and labor, they've put through their aspects and their issues, and this is now going to be tabled to the minister in towards its finalization. And the other issue is that, as you asked, Honorable Chair, the policy was also consulted between the two departments that were merging. So its status is that it is still the national policy on comprehensive project development support, which will guide the country's support to the various categories of producers. I would request that I stop there, Chair, Honorable Chair, and honorable members for now, and thank you, Mr. Ramasodi. Back to you.
Program 4.
Thank you, DG. Good afternoon, Honorable Chair, honorable members, DG and colleagues. I would like to respond to the questions related to training. We have various categories of training. I would like first to start with the one that we offer on SA Gap, where we assist the producers in understanding the markets, how agricultural markets work, how to access the market, and what are the requirements on those markets. And this training then it assists them and the buyers and consumers to bring that confidence that the food produced by the specified producers is really meet the required consumer standards as well. And also the other training is also offered to the food manufacturers. They are guided into all agro-processing processes, development of agribusiness, and ensure that they also comply to the regulations that are put forth by government. In terms of South Africa, it would be Food, Cosmetic and Disinfectant Act. And also understanding and the mitigating of the outbreaks and diseases in food manufacturing systems. So those are among the training opportunities that we offer to our small-scale producers and small-scale farmers as well. I would like to ensure that they all comply, and this training then also ensures that they are able to access the market for which they wouldn't have understood if the department wouldn't have offered the training. This training also assists them to not only to meet the national standards, those that have an interest in exporting, they are also able to meet and understand the requirements by the importing countries. Answering the issue of a criteria of how do we identify the cooperatives to be offered support, there is a relationship with the provincial departments because we are national. There's a cooperation that we are informed of the local needs by the provincial departments. Towards the end of each year, the provincial department would analyze, make assessment, and advise the national department so that we are able to tailor-make according to the needs of each province, as we are not strong on everything equally. Chair, I would want to declare that I might have missed some because of the heavy storm in Centurion. I would apologize in terms of that. I note there was a mention of NAMAC. I could not pick up, but I would request, with your permission, anything related to my NAMAC, if we can submit later on in writing. Thank you, Chair. Over to you, DG.
Program 6. Mesu Middleton, in terms of the...
Chair, afternoon, honourable members. I must apologise, I missed the question for Programme 6.
It was around investigations that were done within the fisheries environment, whether there were court cases or disciplinary actions that were taken within the fisheries management.
Okay. Apologies for that. Chair, I can report that there are several investigations that are still ongoing by the Hawks. There has also been quite a number of disciplinary cases, one against the former DDG of Fisheries Management who was dismissed. There one against the acting Chief Director Financial Management of the MLRF who was dismissed. Another case against the Director of the Fishery Patrol Vessels is on appeal at the moment. And then there are criminal court cases against the Gansbaai 9. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much, Ms. Middleton. Chairperson, I will wrap up in terms of the issues that the colleagues might not have touched on. Honorable Kapa, I agree with you. We are equally disappointed with the 69% achievement within the department, and we think that we could do better in terms of performance. Honorable Steyn, quite a few questions that you have posed. The issue around the suspensions within the department, the former rural development and land reform, a full report will accrue in terms of the questions that you have asked of the colleagues, the two colleagues. We will send a report. On the issue around export protocols, the export protocols are those protocols that we have signed with other countries, specifically in the plant environment, where we export our crops and our fruits to other countries. We have got those and already signed. So the non-achievement is that we had put a target for all the protocols, but not all the protocols were used last year because all of those are dependent on the demand that is from the industry. So some of them could not be used. And because performance is binary, even where performance has been done, it will be reflected not achieved because the number we could not reach. But we have since recrafted that to ensure that of whatever in terms of the protocols are presented and requested by the clients, in this case, we go for 100% instead of giving a definite number that would be dependent on the uptake. The investigations into fisheries have been articulated. Honorable Mahlatsi, I couldn't agree with you more on the importance of internal audit and risk management. The issue around the correlation between performance, non-financial performance and financial performance is quite an issue that we have tried to respond to. And I have got to indicate that you have got a point. The only issue that I would like to raise is this issue around performance management. Because what happens is that, as reflected earlier, because of the binary nature of performance management, it's either it's achieved or not achieved. In most instances, some of them, it's not to say that there's no work that is being done. It's because at that stage, what was the target could not be achieved, but there was work that was there. But I fully take your point in terms of ensuring that in terms of the planning phase, that correlation is reflected. You have also asked about the unfunded vacant post. I think the reflection, you are correct. There is nothing of that term. A post that needs to be reflected on the post establishment is a funded post, and the other one is a wish list.
Was held this week.
Yes.
The Saudis have requested that the senior officials
Mepindi, can we ask you to mute?
adopt the document. So the document, we received it yesterday.
Mepindi.
Myself.
Hello, can we please mute our microphones? We do not need to be hearing about the Saudis and our relations and intentions with the Saudis. So please kindly mute your microphones so we may only confine ourselves to the business of the committee. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson, and apologies. The other issue that Honorable Mahlatsi was asking, how do we improve on the business of the department? Honorable members would now know that we have gone into deep dives in all value chains that we want to put across. And in terms of the work that we'll be doing for the next financial year, we have made sure that that would be reflected in the Agriculture and Agro-Processing Master Plan, which really goes up to district level in terms of how we plan. In terms of how do we recover, we will be coming up with an audit improvement plan on all the findings that are here. I will then move to the questions that were asked by the chair, which were very incisive. The first one, Chairperson, was around vet services and the deployment of CCS vets in this case, where we deployed 168 instead of 189. let me just indicate that all the 168 that came from the University of Pretoria were absorbed. The people who could not be absorbed were those who had requested to come into South Africa, to come and serve the CCS here, and then get employment in South Africa. In that case, I would draw honorable members' attention to the money that was left in the kitty. After absorbing the 168, we were left with just above 5 million, which created a dilemma. Who do you take and not take into the system? And we decided at that stage, because based on the allocations, we could only have the 168 and at that stage, or even a little bit more. But then because all of those were not South Africans or did not utilize South African universities to get qualifications, we had a dilemma in terms of those. We could have taken 2 or 3 more, but we couldn't even reach that target. So what we had done is that we had engaged during the course of the year and raised this with the CFO to get additional funds, but we are not successful in terms of getting that. And the CFO or the person who was presenting would attest to this attempt that we made just to reach this target. In terms of what we do going forward, we had built on an escalation plan to ensure that we also push the university in terms of getting more students in so that we can get more vets in. For this year, we are attempting to just get additional money to ensure that we reach our targets, Chair. And with the current spending patterns, I think we might just crack it just to offset the number that we have set ourselves in this financial year. The other issue that the Chair had asked, I think that the map India had indicated because of the storm that we are having in Pretoria, was the issue around how NAMEC interacts from a point of marketing point, and also how does it relate to the South African good agricultural practices. The SA gap is currently being implemented from a point of the PPCB, the Perishable Product Export Control Board. When the Portfolio Committee took their report, this was presented to be an achievement from their side. How it fits in terms of NAMEC is that all of those who have done the SA gap would then have shelf access into different markets. So their good agricultural practices would allow them to have market access in different areas. So that's how it fits in. Whether it's to the market or whether it's into retail, it's the use of SA gap. The work of NAMEC in terms of this is mainly to look at how do we access markets, and also how do we then deal with the issue that was created after the marketing boards were in terms of the work that they have got to do in dealing with the trusts that emanate from the marketing boards. So that's the work that the NMC is doing. And they are also responsible currently, Chair, as the lead agent for the crafting of the agriculture and agro-processing master plan, which is a plan that we are doing at this moment. They were also responsible during the financial year under question, Chairperson, for the National Red Meat Development Program, which is a program that is meant to ensure that smallholder farmers advance within the value chain in the red meat industry. The issues around the SADC, the commitments that we have around SADC, Chairperson, we will outline and give you a document that deals with the commitments that we have in terms of the SADC protocol. And that protocol has got a few annexures, and each and every annexure has got the commitment that South Africa has specifically in terms of agriculture, Chairperson. On the issues that Chair had raised, I think there were 2 more. Yes, on the underfunding that the department had, I would say in terms of the financial year under review, the department returned money to National Treasury because of a few aspects that could not be concluded on time. But I'm happy to announce, Chairperson, that some of the achievements that could have fallen within this included something that we took on the 1st of April, where every certification in the country is done, plant health certification is done on an e-platform, and we are very happy with that achievement from there. Whether there would be funding gaps in this year, Chairperson, I think with the with the impact of COVID and the presentation that we made on the first quarter, the portfolio committee would be pre-warned that the funding is enough for now, but I cannot talk about it on the outer years. The biggest issue that we are facing as a country, I think, is to move from the manual system, whether it's for applications, whether it's for certification, or for also registering our farmers, into a platform that would be easy to dispense of activities of the department. And lastly, Chair, on your question on the land bank, there is work that is currently happening from the minister's side on the land bank. There is work that the land bank themselves are doing. And it's very important what you have raised, and I think that Honorable Stein had raised in terms of the land bank. The loan book of the land bank is not only to the farmers that we see approaching the land bank. Some of the intermediaries that we have in agriculture, whether co-ops or others, were dependent on the loan book of the land bank. And with the challenges that the land bank is having, it's going to have an impact in terms of the ability of the country to produce, and hence the importance in terms of the discussions on the land bank and the discussions that Minister is having at that level. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Dr. Ramasodi, the acting DG of the department, and the officials for your responses. Honorable members, as I had promised earlier that I will afford you a second bite on the response of the department and its presentation. So has Honorable Klape been able to rejoin us? Honorable Klape? Not yet. Honorable Klape?
No, I don't have anything to say, sir. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Klape. Honorable Mama Stein.
Thank you, Chairperson, and my apologies for cutting the acting DG short when he was speaking, Chair. Chairperson, can I be answered on who is the specific people that is supposed to be doing monitoring and evaluation? And if we are not doing that during the term, so I really find it almost, I don't want to say shocking because it's not a very good term to use, Chair, but I cannot believe that we can wait until the end of the financial term or the quarter then, as it was explained here, to go and verify projects. I would like to understand what is the policy from the department, and we were told now that extra personnel were employed to do monitoring and evaluation, and I'm very happy to hear that. But is that people sitting in a Pretoria office or somewhere far away from where the implementation happens? Because that sounds like it to me, Chairperson. What is the role of the extension officers then in this monitoring and evaluation that is being done? And Chairperson, I still can't understand, even with COVID, every other farmer in this country moved during the time. So I would then ask, Chair, that we get a list of the positions then, if it's not the name of the people that were supposed to work during COVID. Who were working during the time? And if it's saying extension officers were all working, I would like to know out of the maybe 300 or 6,000, I don't know how many extension officers we have, how many of them was working during the period under discussion, and so the rest of the personnel. Chair, I don't buy the story that it could not happen because of COVID. We worked very, very hard during that period to ensure that people get travel documents in order to get people to go and work. And I understand now for the first time, Chair, the frustration of farmers that they experienced on the ground to try and put food on the table in this country after the president said agriculture must proceed. I personally could not get a single staff member to help with serious issues on the ground. And it makes sense to me now, Chair. And I really want a full document briefing on who worked and who did not work. March, April, I know it's not this year period that we're discussing, but it's not making sense. I don't buy it. I'm sorry, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stein. Honorable Chwede.
Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, I don't have anything to ask, Chair, but it's just that I'm not satisfied with the way and the manner that the department has answered some of our questions. I was just wondering, Chair, if is it possible that we can submit the questions to our secretariat to the department so that they can answer in writing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chwede. We will request for these questions and answers to be sent back to us in writing. You may proceed, Honorable Mbabama.
Thank you, Chair. I won't put on my mic. Chair, the only is I only have a comment, not a question, possibly to yourselves, is how we can get the minister here to account, because it's been quite a long time that we have seen the minister at this committee, and even her deputies are very scarce. And I really am sitting here trying to think, what can we do if we don't get satisfaction from the officers themselves? And my only answer is that the minister herself should come here and account on what they are doing, Chair. This department doesn't even have a DDG at the moment. So maybe that's the reason that they don't have direction at the top, that nobody's managing anybody. So I would really appreciate it, Chair, if you can try and get the minister to come and account. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mbabama. I can assure you that the department is being managed by the executive, and timelessly they do join us from time to time with the Deputy Minister Ubawo Dlamini. And the minister was actually joining us this morning when the committee meeting was scheduled to sit between 9 and 12. But because of the change we had in accommodating the men's parliament, time we are sitting on is clashing with the IMC that herself and the deputies have been asked to come to attend and present issues in and around land. So their portfolio is called upon to present, and this is why they have not been able to attend today. But I will, as the chairperson of the portfolio committee, express our dissatisfaction to the minister with the responses that we are receiving, and request on her to appear before the committee to attend to these issues herself. Your request will be attended to, Kangem. Honorable Mahlatsi.
Thank you very much, Chair. Taking tune from what the acting DG has indicated, and responding to a number of questions that I might have asked, and with the response that says, indeed, I agree with Honorable Mahlatsi, is a clear indication that the department has not been doing its work as expected. But Chair, I want to move from a premise that says for the department to perform very well, it should have had a proper audit committee that was supposed to be operating fully throughout the year in assisting the department to achieve its goals as per its mandate. However, I've seen on the chart the former audit committee chair is here with us and would have loved to maybe make an input in as far as audit committee is concerned. But if there's no time today, most probably because she might not have been scheduled, I would recommend, Chair, that we get audit committee report as a standalone item, because this audit committee report, that means I'm not speaking about the Auditor General, I'm now speaking about the internal, external audit committee that might have been appointed for the department to indicate to us what could have been challenges in that particular financial year that we are dealing with, so that as we move forward, we are able to assist the department to really improve its business. Number two is on the risk management as well, Chair. I think I've raised this on numerous occasions, that can we at least have a risk register and get an indication from the department whether who is managing risk at the department level and at what level is this particular individual who might have been appointed. Because in most cases, risk managers are either assistant directors or deputy directors, and their work is quite critical, but most of the time the department does not take risk management serious, because if you have done your risk register properly, they would have found mitigating factors in ensuring that, situations that would have been risks, so that they can have mitigating elements to ensure that these things that we are debating today, they are not there. They would have seen possibility of them not achieving their goals and would have came up with strategic options in terms of how they are supposed to meet their goals. Chair, I just wanted to indicate as a last comment on this particular matter of the annual report. Maybe the department is not aware. It's just that on a lighter note, Honorable Chair, that to remind the department that their inability to perform at a satisfactory level is a direct reflection on the portfolio committee itself. If they are unable to achieve, it's an indictment to the department and to ourselves as a portfolio committee. And lastly, Chair, I must indicate to the department, sometimes, Chair, I think maybe it's an oversight from senior management of the department to assume that amongst portfolio committee members, this portfolio committee is quite rich in terms of expertise. We've got former executives of government entities, we've got farmers in this committee, we've got former executives from government departments, and so on and so forth. Now, when we come to this portfolio committee, we want to bring the necessary expertise so that we assist the department to move forward. We are not just ordinary people who have found somewhere to be put in parliament. No, we know what is happening in government. We want to assist you to move forward. So our expectation is that the department must work with us, must not take us for granted, must not assume that we might not understand certain things that are happening in government. Because clearly, some of the responses, for instance, Chair, when we're speaking about the fourth quarter, we have spoken about the fourth quarter issue. We've said the fourth quarter is not viable in terms of government. Fourth quarter is January, February, March. Most of the time, government officials are not back in January. They are back in February. March is the end of financial year. So it's not viable for you to have humongous figures or targets being put on the fourth quarter, because in most cases, you will not achieve anything because people are not there. Now, we must not be told that everything was in the fourth quarter. Therefore, why were they not being able to achieve throughout the year? And we're told about the fourth quarter. Some of these responses are actually, they make one a little bit upset, Chair, to say we can't be taken for granted. Can the department take us serious? Can they improve on what they are doing now so that we're able to move smoothly? Our intention is not to come here and hammer on the department. When they do good, we will congratulate them. When they do wrong, they perform unsatisfactory, we will also rise on the issues. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mahlatsi. And I hope that don't want to say it's anger, but the dissatisfaction we hold as a committee can be expressed in words so that we can be able to hold this department accountable for the fiscal that it is mandated to utilize for the betterment of our farmers, particularly small-scale farmers, and also to ensure that it is fully utilized. So, DG Ntate Ramasodi, you should take it in that light that we are only exercising our mandate to ensure that the challenges that South Africans as well as the general public are experiencing, we should be the voice of those South Africans. And in saying so, we would also want to understand more in terms of the budgets that were set for CASP as well as Limalitsima. What have they been utilized on? And I would be happy if on this particular one, we are able to have a standalone presentation that speaks in detail to what these monies are utilized on. We are beginning to receive reports, and I would like you to confirm if you as the national department carry out the implementation of these funds, or you outsource that to the province, whom, when these monies come to the province, are outsourced to other entities. For example, what is the role of ADA in KwaZulu-Natal? And the monies that are supposed to be utilized by the provincial department, why are they handed to ADA in terms of farmer support? Because then on our side as a committee, we are limited into holding to account entities like ADA because our responsibility is to the committee and its provincial departments. And again, similarly to the Eastern Cape, what is the role of the Eastern Cape Development Corporation that monies of CASP and Limalitsima are directed to, and thus we are limited in engaging as to what these monies have actually done, because I would believe that the province is supposed to identify farmers that are supposed to be beneficiaries to this and ensure that those monies are spent into supporting those farms. But now when those monies are put into another entity that is not really falling under our mandate, how are we to then make sure those monies are accounted for? Let me hand over to yourself, Ntate Ramasodi, for your responses, and we can be able to wrap up this session on the annual report of the former Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. We are aware, honorable members, that issues of forestry and fisheries sit elsewhere with now the Department of Environmental Affairs, and therefore it is the Portfolio Committee of Environmental Affairs that has been charged to look into issues of forestry and fisheries. Tate Ramasodi, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe let me start where Chair has indicated he would like to have a report on CASP and ILIM and also the subsidiaries that are there. We will ensure that we come through and make a presentation on that, Chairperson. On the issues around how as a department we are going to look at the planning part, I think that I've reflected, Chairperson, in terms of the current work that we are doing on the agriculture and agro-processing master plan, which we will share with you once we are through with the consultative phase with labor, business, and also civil society. Regarding the issues that were raised by Honorable Mahlatsi on the audit committee report, that report was forwarded, Chairperson, and I agree. When Chair takes that report, I think it will reflect in terms of the work that was done by the audit committee, and they had shared the report as guided by the Chair previously, that as and when we appear, the Chair of that audit committee should also appear with us. The issue around the risk register, yes, there is a risk register for the new department, and even in the old department, there is a risk register at two levels, at the strategic level and also at operational level, so they are there. In the old DAFF, risk was under a director, but in the new department, we have got a chief director risk. So risk is at a very high level, at the same level as audit, Honorable Mahlatsi. There's an issue that was raised around Honorable Steyn on the working of the department, who was working during that period, and I should on record even indicate Ms. Steyn on the work that was done by the department, that some of us worked during that period. But what we will do is that we will send through, as requested at the last meeting, a full report in terms of who was at work during that period, because we had clearly delineated each and every branch had people who were outlined as essential services. The issue that we need to raise is that that we will also have to get from provinces the essential services that were in provinces, that I will have to ask Dr. Moeng, just to ensure that all provinces would submit to the portfolio committee those who were working during the period under lockdown, broken down in terms of the levels that were there. Chairperson, I think those were the questions that were posed. We will await for the Chair to guide in terms of the next processes. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Ramasodi, for your responses, and honorable members. I hope we are covered in the responses that we have heard from Dr. Ramasodi. We have therefore asked that these questions be responded to in writing and sent back to the Secretariat so that we can be able to go through them at our leisure. Mama Babama has requested to be able to engage with the minister on these issues. And I would think that after we have gone through the questions and answers that would be sent in writing, we can then schedule engagement with the minister so we can be able to cover the issues that we're not satisfied with. Honorable members, as per our agenda, this brings us to the end of our meeting. Would want to check with the Secretariat if there's any minutes you would want us to go through.
No, Chair, there's no minutes. Thanks.
Thank you, Mamukakaza and Umanyamza. Honorable members, let me therefore thank you for availing yourselves on this afternoon session of our Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. Thank the officials of the department as led by the acting DG Ntate Ramasodi and all the officials of the department that have been able to participate and present to us today, and for their responses that have been helpful to make us better understand some of the issues and challenges within the former DAFF annual report. We would like to also thank all those that took time to join us and be part of this session, whether be in our media or respected South African citizens that had an interest on this meeting. We thank you for having availed yourself for today's meeting. With that said, honorable members, officials of the department, and everyone, let me wish you a great weekend ahead. Please do take time to spend with your families and get the much needed rest. Most importantly, please stay safe as COVID numbers continues to rise and are of concern, particularly to people like myself, Honorable Stein, Honorable Trete, and Honorable Mbabama, hailing from the Eastern Cape, where numbers seemingly are soaring upwards. And we must continue expressing to our people to abide by COVID regulations, particularly now that we are coming to the festive season in December, where people return back to their province of origin and their homes, and therefore will be going across provinces. Let us be the voices and advocate for our people to ensure that they abide to COVID regulations and protect themselves. We must sanitize, wear our masks, and continue to keep social distancing. With that said, please have yourself a splendid weekend ahead. I thank you.
Enkosi Chair, you also and the boys have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, colleagues, and bye.
Bye.
Sure, thank you, bye.
Albi?